Ouroboros paradox, existence without the beginning or existence with a mystery about beginning by the logos it can my anything. So let's define that while every human is input-based entity, there has to be coherence past and also present processive patterns. I will call it brain matrix concept, actually a comparison of possibility of flow and outcome due to accessible memory, imagination, sensation, point of focus, cause of present and future establishment, and the fruit of this establishment, social bias, and so on. When we are changing our focus towards the people are calling it now hardcore meditation, our movement of thinking around vast concept of inner or outer cosmos towards the subtle truths and holistic dependent, arising, we are changing our persona attachment towards inwards. So I believe the point of attention is drowning in ignorance of outer world in the past. At least it should be like this. Like I said before, the true spirituality is coherent toward any aspect of place thought, emotion, and even a something that we can call by our rational framed minds a mistake. So now realize that everything that we can think about is highly dependent, it is called limited measure or limited frame, and the goal should be at first to know more independent arising. Let's establish that the time floats only in perception, and by mental formation of perception, it is strictly formed due to life of a form. The consciousness have much bigger capacity. I have to say that for the first, every meaning is just a moment anyway. For a second, that you can achieve a more than a lifetime knowledge in a quarter of a second. The ability to see when it comes to mind is not linear at all. Actually, monks are the biggest psychonauts of this world. People can't fit to their shallow mind that when somebody wants to sit in one place in position for 4 days and nights without any type of switching attention, must have a great reason on shoulders, including the power of will, emotion, and sharp mind. Actually, the universe is a hypersensible machine of movement that people ignore because of their form and present form of life. The dharmic experience of consciousness can have various different characteristics. For example, having on mind knowledge of, for example, 20 years of dependent study, the emotional body with subtle changes over mind flow, while already half a second passed, and in the second half a second they realize that the coherence over the narration is not even a percent of possible blink of subtle possible changes towards the manifestation possible in reality. You can have a disturbed visual perceiving of seeing which we can call a different seat. Monks can achieve enormous memory towards the past, even of the sensations while having it in a present moment on their body or mind. Furthermore, you can experience different kind of change. The law of physics, inner movements, reveal the mysteries of another puzzles of the world that no one have on mind. I mean, it is possible to deduct with certain wisdom around real movement of the planet or humans at least few hundred years, but this is anyway academic side of it. The truth is that the unconscious movement means much more than academic deduction. This is another example of what the empathy and neuroplasticity really establish and means. Every level of awareness is another effort and possible outcome. We need certain things as a living beings, also because of dukkha. The other story is what we carry on mind, on basis and by will movement. Physical world is not the world of alchemy. The world of emotions is a world of alchemy. The main point is to be aware that it can be different on both sides, but the reality actually is. If you are telling yourself that meditation is a repetitive, telling the same sentence to convince yourself you clearly have a lot of emotional baggage to work on, and the real change can't occur simply because some people don't see the pause and switch of action due to their patterning and modeling of reality. Most people don't want to confront their bad emotions either, which is necessary then to access the view over real float of action in universe, including the missed action, missed focus, missed thought. Everything of that anyway is included in awareness, but simply is not present. Some people like to live and make effort to feel and attain a different state of awareness for a quarter of a second, and they never want to come back on this state ever again. They want to do it by show their dominance, which simply is another form of projection showing only a shallow concepts of their characteristics, which will fall in just a little bit more harder circumstances. Like I said, people all their lives mostly are doing things which they don't know how they end or where they lead. People have tendency toward a leaderism. They want to be something or someone uncommon. If I could make a simple answer towards that is that they want to be detached from their lifetime work and choose one time something that fit better towards their fantasy. They don't know what spirituality means. They don't know what is potential. They don't know about different circumstances that can lead to much better effect while having and doing even less unique things. The proper meditation liquefy the present states and attachments and is giving the light like hermit over the deep ignorance and darkness that we all as a humans are drowning in. Everyone looks for intellect and soul. Eventually, everybody is looking for a blink and moment of awareness that can satisfy their bias and self-imaginary systems through lack of proper understanding of the reality and compounds of the reality. It is simply phenomena that occurs over systemic, repetitive functions that they agree on or are conscious on. Repetitive function governs the ego awareness. That's why the ethos and posture have to be proper and respectful towards every moment, just simply because the open head requires it. Fire is inside in the reality. People dissociate the fire and the reality, causing numbness over their own capacity, form, and potential, causing dukkha and sloppy and ignorant state of resonance. Strive on with diligence is the most important thing that somebody can embody. I would like to add that level of rationality is clearly stated by the education progress, the structures of authority in form of government and other form of institutions required obedience to exist, and this is the main problem of holistic change over the world. Phenomena called desireless is not bad if you know what radiance means. Have on mind that we live in a world where are parts that you would never desire and choose. By this I mean your present ego condition interpretation. So let's start with that. The real knowledge of the experience is mostly after a vast years, and by that I mean focusing all the way, for example, 5 years, but mostly what I found is 20 years plus, and every circumstance are different characteristics anyway. There are rules, but like I told you, the humans have anyway a lack of control over certain things. So have that on mind that yes, somebody can have wisdom for above lifetime or even like more than a 60 lifetimes, but it doesn't mean that it is anyway useful for our logic and reason mind, because simply a noumena or objective sets of ideas, causes, and effects is untouched by our mortality. The other part of the same coin is that the ego is mostly a servant of consciousness, and due to limitation of language is very hard to have on mind certain advanced things while still be present into material social life other than path to esoteric knowledge and enlightenment. The psychedelics are also the shortcut to different reality and a shortcut to certain knowledge upon your grounded soul and version of possibilities of experience of consciousness. The good to add here is that if you don't know what is temperance over a good or bad things, you always will cause suffering without the control, only another reaction with no forged foundation. The people called yogins or monks that are deeper into understanding the constructs of experiencing life and awareness drowned in life, somebody will tell that they transcend the mind, but simply they just realize that humans have tendency to live life in the reality constructed over words, using words, living for words and characteristics of the frames of construct by other people. For example, total amount of words in English is more than 1 million, but total number of words in Greek is over 110 millions. In Buddhism tradition on the path of Bhumi, there is a special distinction over this topic, and the consciousness of the human that reach certain very advanced level of awareness is called Bhumi of the Great Syllabes. The inefficiency of therapy for some people in time for over, for example, 5 or 10 years is simply scattered understanding of, for example, the phenomena that I am speaking right now. The reality is no word constructed, even if you are not capable of perceiving it this way. The radiance always comes first, even if for you not. Levels of faith towards the subtle and also very notorious force that we live in is indeed reflected into coherence of feeling, into the manifested life force. It is the basic thing of beating everything that we can name as bad or evil. To phenomena to occur, the phenomena needs to be anyway present some way. It can be even pure imagination concept. I don't want to say about implications over the raising awareness. From what I know, the cause can't be one and have to be constant. The social change is truly not enough. The frame of act is fluid, the act itself is also fluid. Substance that contains possibilities and frames of frames is simply beyond the selfhood, other the selfhood recognition and grasp.
I would like to add that perspective and perception are also highly fluid, and falls in their certain way. They can have form and it is proper in form, but there are movements of emotion, will, attachments, and other things like floats of concepts and ideas that changing those certain characteristics over our typical rational set of imagination around known and can be known reality. No one of humans can predict a certain thought and state of mind on tomorrow around 11:29. Actually, it is possible like the real soul, Anatman self or higher self, also like the real memory about every thought of life and even small muscle movement, but our ego is vastly limited towards that movement, at least in present times. Some kind of knowledge, mostly the most important must be revealed and lived by a certain coherence and processed by power of will. Of course, despite the been told movement of thoughts, the people nowadays don't even think that they are unified within the deep, well unified ocean of certain possibilities of realities and movement. Something physical in word of chosen distinction of status over a kind is the main concept. Its shallow possibilities of anyway limited information flow towards the ego. I believe the work of those few episodes is creating a great attachment to grow and make a real move towards right direction. I wish I would continue it in some day in more detailed frame with a bigger amount of time and topic. Yeah, and there will be a series who film me like I will speak about other people fucking videos or something like that. I mean, it won't be like in a week or in a 4 months, for example, but it will arise, and it's a very vast material, like more than 200 hours. Yeah, more than 200 hours. Definitely more than 100 hours. Yeah, so maybe not see you soon.